And so I considered myself to have the prowess and the skill and the luck of Indiana Jones. And I came upon this one hill just adjacent to our hunting camp, and I stood on the top of this hill on my dirt bike, and I looked down on what promised to be the glory of my pre-adolescent life. I was going to ride my dirt bike down this hill. Now, at the bottom of the hill, there was a gully, and so there was a little rise that went up over a bridge, and I was going to sail down, hit that little rise, catch air, and I was going to skid my bike, Evel Knievel style, just short of the packed dirt wall on the other side of the road. Now, there were lots of bumps and rocks and gullies along the way, but this would make the ride even more exciting and fun. Are you ready? Oh my gosh, this is going to be great. So I took a deep breath, pushed my hair back. Helmet? What helmet? And I kicked off. And I realized within seconds I had made the biggest mistake of my pre-adolescent life. All of those rocks were making the bike spin out of control. The pedals were going faster and faster. And I realized that I was going to either veer off and go down into that gully, or I was indeed going to catch air at the bottom, and I was going to smack head first into that packed dirt wall at the bottom. And I am just panicking. What am I going to do? And then one word popped into my head. Looking back now, I can see it was the voice of divine intervention. And that one word was fall. Fall! I needed to fall off the bike now in order to avoid a worse fate at the bottom. So I veered the bike just a little bit to the right and leaned a little bit, and it caught a rock, and down I went. Oh, knees into the dirt, elbows, and I'm laying there. And there's pebbles embedded into my bloody knees, and my elbows are all scraped up, big chunks of skin are gone. But my head's okay. My bike is not. But I get up, and I pick up my bike, and I slowly, carefully go the rest of the way down the hill and walk back to the hunting camp, and I'm crying. And as I round the bend, I can see my father on the porch, smoking his pipe, working on his crossword puzzle, and he looks up and he knows instantly that something is wrong. So he comes running out, he takes one look at me, and he says, "Whoa, you really messed yourself up bad this time, didn't you?" But he takes me inside, he sits me down, he wipes away my tears, he cleans the pebbles from my wounds, puts some ointment and bandages on them, and after I've calmed down, he promises me that when my wounds have healed, we will walk in the woods once again. After that, every time we drove past that hill, people called it Leah's Hill. And every time we went up to camp, my brother and sisters would tease me. "Hey, there's Leah's Hill. Let me see your scars. You think some of your skin's still hanging up there?" It was legendary. Leah's Hill taught me two important things. First of all, just because you think you can pull off something really awesome, but really risky, doesn't mean that you should actually do it. And the second thing I learned was, when you're going down a hill at out of control speeds, the best thing to do is fall, or it's going to be worse at the bottom. My friends, I submit to you today that the history of Western civilization can be compared to that of an 11-year-old daredevil. As we stood at the peak of creation, looking down on all that God had made, we thought that we could conquer it. We thought we could do it. Poised on the wheels of science and technology and energy consumption and capitalist economics and human subjugation, we felt sure that we could go down that hill at full speed and catch air at the bottom, and we would be free of any concerns. We would just simply enjoy the wind going through our hair, free of any concerns but our own pleasure and our own grand ideas. The difference is, it's not just one 11-year-old on a bike. It's been the entire Western civilization on a machine, retrofitted with jet fuel packs. And it's speeding down the mountain, and it is tearing down everything in its path, anything that gets in its way, while it is spewing noxious chemicals into the air, and it is decimating the entire mountainside as it goes. And it is creating an ecological crucifixion. And as we are headed for the bottom, we are headed for ecological disaster. We are headed for an ecological crucifixion. My friends, today we are joining with more and more people around our world who are celebrating Earth Day. And we are celebrating, as Christians, what God has done in creation. We read verses that extol the intrinsic value of God's creation. And we have joined our voices in the hymn and with our praise. We join our voices with the trees and the animals, with the waterways, in praise of our Creator God. But I must also share with you a prophetic word about the state of God's creation. We are careening down a bumpy hill, and we are on a head-on collision course for ecological disaster. Now, I know it's depressing to hear this litany, but please receive it in the spirit in which it is intended. Our telling the truth about the state of God's creation is like a form of biblical lament, which the scholar Walter Brueggemann tells us achieves three things. First, it recognizes the reality of the loss and the grief. And then it names that injustice as intolerable. And third, it moves us to action, to follow God's call to make it right again, so that we move from creation to eco-crucifixion to eco-resurrection. We are trying to move to follow God's call for restoration. As Christians, I call on all of us today to heed and repeat the words of the psalm, which call us to rejoice in all that God has created. Psalm 19 tells us that God's laws in nature are sweeter than honey, more valuable than gold. But we also have to heed and repeat the prophetic word in Lamentations. It's a warning that paints a vivid picture of what will happen if we keep careening down this mountainside and smack head first into that wall. In fact, the non-human inhabitants and the most impoverished people of our earth are already joining that lamentation cry. And they say these words, "Our inheritance has been turned over to strangers, our home to aliens. We must pay for the water we drink. With the yoke on our necks, we are hard driven, no rest. We get our bread at the peril of our lives because of the sword in the wilderness, a sword of our own making. Our hearts are sick and our eyes have grown dim. And yet, there is a word. Can you hear that voice calling out to us as we realize that the machine is going too fast and we are out of control? That word is fall. We need to fall off the bike, fall off the machine. If we just lean to the side a little bit, we will avoid the worst case scenario. Yes, it is going to hurt. It will hurt to give up our lifestyles of comfort and convenience. Yes, it's going to bruise us to stop living out of earth's means. Yes, our knees are going to be scraped and bloodied by relinquishing our attitudes of personal and institutional privilege, and our elbows are going to get injured when we fall into a downwardly mobile, ecologically healing way of life. But as people of the church, we must proclaim both the law of the lamentation and the gospel as well. And that word of hope is, but you, O Lord, reign forever. Restore us to yourself, O Lord, that we may be restored. When we proclaim the truth that God is bigger than the machine that we have created, bigger even than the beautiful, suffering planet that we are killing, when we proclaim the truth about the mercy of God, we offer hope that a turning is possible, that the grace of God awaits us. Like a father sitting on the porch who comes out to us, takes the machine, looks at us and says, "Whoa, you really messed up bad this time, didn't you?" But God sits us down, wipes away our tears, helps us clean up the mess that we have made, and promises us that when we have healed, when the earth has healed, we will walk together in the woods once again. Amen. Our hymn is found in your bulletin. It's called "Creative God, You Spread the Earth." You will recognize the tune. Glenn will play through it, and you'll be able to sing along with the words in the bulletin.